But yeah, I was kind of a naive lesbian, if that makes any sense, in the best senses of the word naive. You know, it just came naturally to me. Now, and then I would say that the other face of that, which is the complete opposite of naive, comes naturally, is I also think that I had absorbed a huge amount of silence about being a lesbian, about being queer, as I actually was the word that I called myself when I was in my early teens. You know, the shame was so, it wasn't even articulated as shame. It was just so deep, that there was no way to think about what that meant, because it was such a prohibited, there was no, yeah, it was just completely prohibited. um, I can't even say how, all of the dimensions in which it's prohibited. It's not as though you couldn't not talk about it. It's not as though you couldn't say the name. It's not as though those things didn't even come up. There was nothing to not even talk about, if you know what I mean. I mean,
Right.
the
Yeah.
silence was so intense that you didn't even recognize the silence.
Right. No, I totally get that. So how did you live with that tension of it being, as you say, natural to you, but then the silence is because it's wrong?
Well, I think that's one of the most remarkable things about being a woman who loves women, or being a man who loves men, is the rightness of those feelings, the wholeness of those feelings, the absolute okayness of those feelings in an internal sense. You know, like when you fall in love with somebody, or when you're attracted to somebody, for my experience of that is that it's bringing out the best in me. It's my who I love, who I'm attracted to, who I want to be intimate with, is usually somebody who's well worth being close to. So in other words, it's so right that it's irresistible. So the irresistibility of the attraction and the desire and the wholeness that it has, it cancels out the silence. You're going to go for it, and you're not looking at it in that way. Like, you're not saying, "Oh, there's a war going on in my head." It's like, no, you're going for it, but you're not telling anybody about it.